thing, but they actually showed the Polish people that, well, there are Poles who are dissatisfied with the system, and the system is wrong, and we should try to change it. That was like the beginning of the road to freedom. Then 10 years later, in August 1980, the shipyard workers decided to show their protest once again. The pretext was the threat of making redundant one of gantry crane operators, Anna Valentinowicz. We will speak about her at the museum. That was just like a pretext, but actually it was more about the politics. It was more about the economy, because we could see that the country's economy is going down and is not getting any better. But shipyard workers learned their lesson from December 1970, and in August 1980 they did not leave the shipyard. They stayed inside and they organized something which was an occupational strike. When we speak about December 1970, we speak about the strikes of shipyard workers. When we speak about August 1980, initially that was a strike of shipyard workers of the shipyard of Lenin in Gdansk, because at that time the shipyard was called the Lenin shipyard. But just after a few days it turned into a national strike, which means that representatives from companies from different from different parts of Poland came here and joined their fellow shipyard workers, and the so-called something which was called Interfactory Strike Committee was formed. So when we speak about August 1980, we speak about the strike of the whole Poland. Of course, it was not easy to get the information across, to get the message across, because as soon as the strike was declared, the communists, closed the entrance to the city. It was not possible to reach Gdansk by train. All phones were cut off. So they didn't want anybody to learn about the strike. But I told you that when it comes to Polish people, just because of our history, when we are taught not to do something, very often, if we feel that this is good, we would do it, and that was the case. So they were, all the measures were taken not to get the message across to other parts of Poland, but people here in Gdansk did everything they could to make the message spread, not only across Poland, but also to other countries outside Poland. They formulated the so-called 21 demands. The first one was, looking at it from political point of view, the most important, because that was the demand to have a free and independent trade union solidarity. But the others were also about freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to go on strike, to guarantee that if you take part in a strike, you will not be persecuted later on, you will not be licensed later on, made redundant, dismissed. But there were also demands of kind of social nature, like prolonging maternity leave or getting a pay rise. They were of course important, but the most important for actually the future of the country were the first ones, especially the one about forming a free and independent trade union. One of the demands was a requirement to construct a memorial that would commemorate shipyard workers who died in December 1970. And hence we've got the monument. At that time, communists did not feel strong. That is why after 2 weeks of negotiations, they signed the agreement. They accepted all the demands. And they also agreed to the construction of the monument. Shipyard workers knew that communists could change their opinion, so they got down to work and started working on the monument, not only here in Gdansk, but also in other cities of Poland. And the monument was erected here in the mid-December 1980. We've got 3 crosses, because on one hand they symbolize the first 3 shipyard workers who were killed in December 1970 when they were leaving the shipyard and going into the city center. on a strike. On the other hand, a cross from a Polish perspective means something when you do not get what you expect. It actually means the three strikes which were organized in Poland and which actually did not bring any tangible effect, but they